mode for the last couple of months, and I do get in touch with my representatives a lot, sometimes out loud, sometimes in writing. So I'm going to read what I prepared today, though. I want to thank everybody for coming and showing commitment to your country and to the community, even being here on a rainy day. I agreed to talk today about two of my passions, science and education. Right now, both roles as connected to the U.S. government are being targeted, and not in a good way. In my view, government exists to take on roles and expend funds that benefit the residents and citizens of the country, but cannot be done as well or to a meaningful standard by individuals, groups, or states. The tasks are especially important when they involve shared resources like public lands, water and air, and huge segments of the population. I'm going to start with science. Many agencies assigned to do research and apply science-based decisions are losing government funding and staff right now, as the one Heidi mentioned. These are sudden losses taking place in some cases at the beginning of field research seasons for our country here in the Northern Hemisphere. They're disrupting collaborative research projects that are funded jointly by public and private entities and universities. Disruptions are happening right now in the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which has documented the indisputable trajectory of climate change and factors driving it. Environmental Protection Agency, which assesses pollution and negative habitat impacts and recommends ways to mitigate it. Geological Survey, which collects data on biological systems as well as monitoring Earth movements, including earthquakes and volcanoes and landslides. Forest Service, in determining sustainability of harvests and populations of organisms that depend on healthy forests. National Weather Service, which collects information throughout the country for long-term monitoring and up-to-the-minute safety guidance. They're even grounding the balloons. These are cutbacks in continuing research projects that benefit our economy, our health and safety, agriculture and mariculture, and fisheries, all important to Alaska. In addition, results already made widely public, like the ones that quantify the impacts of climate change we already can see for ourselves, are being wiped off of government websites, no longer accessible to students of all ages and the general public who want to make sense of changes in their world. This is as bad as banning books. Communications that teach people about our natural systems and changes over time are no longer shared. And this gets personal. In fact, recently a regional conference was scheduled in Sitka for Southeast communities, including Haines, to collaborate on preparation, mitigation, and response related to landslides. It was canceled with a few days' notice due to a freeze imposed on travel for representatives of USGS, Forest Service, and the National Weather Service. This exemplifies a direct disregard for the safety of our communities all along the Panhandle and beyond. Alaska lands exhibit the highest rate of warming of all communities in the United States, and that doesn't even cover all the implications of the ocean changes which affect currents and the weather itself. Alaska has over half of the coastline of the United States, and that is a very sensitive border. As Neil deGrasse Tyson likes to say, the good thing about science is it's true whether you believe it or not. Project 2025 creators called NOAA one of the main drivers of the climate change alarm industry, and said the agency's mission was harmful to American prosperity, harmful to the oil industry perhaps. Denial of science has never worked as a strategy. It's not a coincidence that almost every disaster movie starts with someone ignoring a scientist. Knowing what's going on in our environment and in our populations, human and otherwise, gives us a chance to do things differently, whether it's in energy, production, transportation, or public safety. The elimination of systemic observations, documentation, and research will soon begin to impact the efficiency and sustainability of our fisheries, timeliness of weather reporting, engagement of early warning systems, development of adequate terrestrial food supply, and more. I'm reminded of a certain public figure who said during the COVID pandemic, if we didn't test so much and so successfully, we would have very few cases. Well, that just wasn't true. Whether you measure something or not, it still happens. Research leads to understanding of feedback mechanisms, development of innovations in transportation and communication technology, ability to strike a meaningful balance between development and protections. And science critiques itself, and quite harshly sometimes. Bogus and unverifiable science helps no one and distracts from real solutions. We need research, and we need Americans of all ages to understand how science works. We learned during COVID that many people actually don't. There is a protocol and a high standard for reaching valid conclusions. My cousin's boyfriend's mother took X and got better. That must work. That doesn't meet the credibility test. We should all have access to the research data we've already paid for. Farmers can't feed the country if the field's flooded or on fire. Yes, it is an inconvenient truth, but a truth just the same. Unquestionably, science matters. Now for schools, the firing of specialists in the Department of Education has begun to disrupt the continuity of service that many vulnerable students need. The governor of Alaska, once an educator, says the changes will be great, putting all the power and responsibility on the states, including ours that so far refuses to assess an income tax, even as many high-salary paychecks leave Alaska. States already control most aspects of what and how students learn, but the feds have been the ones that assured all students have a fair shot. The governor says that all the laws that protect children will still be in place. And yet, I found out that Alaska has joined 16 states that are suing the U.S. Department of Education for enforcing Section 504 of the American Rehabilitation Act. That law prohibits discrimination of students and requires public schools to serve students with disabilities appropriately. Alaska is fighting that. So no, the laws are not necessarily safe, even if the state takes over the oversight of these protections. And college and training schools will be less available to low-income students since Department of Education manages many of those loans. Apparently, had a long argument with a staffer in our governor's office. Part of the motivation to strike out the roles of the Federal Department of Education relates to those scary 3 initials. You know the ones I mean, I bet. DEI initiatives are not propaganda. Diversity is a recognition that this country is made of people exemplifying a huge variation in ancestry. And further, that people from all backgrounds contribute to the success of the United States. Equity means the doors of opportunity are open to everyone. Public schools require that this is so, despite some disturbing news lately, like the disciplining of the public school teacher in Idaho that Tom mentioned, who hung a banner in her classroom that said, "Everyone is welcome here." Who is not, I wonder? And inclusion means everybody matters. The Department of Agriculture will exhibit loyalty to this administration's executive order by terminating $660 million worth of agreements to purchase healthy local and regional foods for school lunches, just as families are facing even higher food costs. So much for boosting child health and local economies at the same time. So, with federal cuts, is the migrant education program in jeopardy? The Alaska Native Science and Engineering program? Is the program allowing the filling of persistent vacancies in rural Alaska with visa holders from the Philippines? Will teaching of Alaska's indigenous history be considered radical indoctrination? Will the inevitable increase in class sizes leave even more children behind? Will it reduce or eliminate services for special education? A primary role of the Federal Department of Ed is assuring equity across races, income, gender, and more. In conclusion, and to tie my passions together, I believe more science instruction and education can build advocacy for knowing truth about our world. It's also a justice issue. For many students, including students who can't read well, science is their superpower. Some students should become scientists, and all of us should be able to think like one. I wish we had leadership like that right now. Science saves lives, education equity reveals genius, curiosity kindles learning, collaboration leads to progress, compassion promotes peace. Thank you for your time.